All right. So welcome to the 12th session of BW for HANA. First of all, my sincere apologies that I could not take the Sunday class last week. I was not feeling well, so I'm now recovered, almost fully recovered. So we'll try to make up the lost time for that. Today, I'm planning to start the ADSOs. So one of the most important topics in BW for HANA. But before going to the ADSOs, in the last class, what we did, let's quickly summarize that. So in the last class, what we did was we created CDS views. We created the delta annotations in the CDS views for the item, sales item, and we extracted the data and we saw how the deletions are also captured using that annotation. So now the pending thing in the CDS views are basically the enhancements. So we had some enhancements which had to be done. We did those enhancements in the regular standard extractors using BADI. So we saw that how to do that. But in CDS views, we did not do those enhancements. So what are those enhancements? If you quickly go to the batch folder, if you go to the material, customer scenario, the second one, which says laptop A02, I think it got created with that name. So this one, I can get rid of this folder actually. This is empty. And we'll rename this to make sure it is proper. Okay. So if you go to this customer scenario folder, under that we have sales header and item data source fields. So where you will see the actual enhancements, the field, info source, ADSOs, everything is there, which we are going to create. So here, if you go to the sales header, we had two enhancements, land one and name one. Land one is the country and name one was the name of the customer. And then in the sales item, we had one enhancement, mtart, which is of material type, which is an enhancement. So today we are going to complete these two enhancements because we have the two CDS views already created, both for sales header and sales item. And then we can do the enhancement. So that will tell you that if there is an extractor which is based on CDS views, and if you want to enhance that, so what is the way to do it? So let's jump to the system directly. So we'll see our flow first. So let me see where our flow is. So I'll go to my info area. Under that we have batch 2. So everything we are doing is in batch 2. So we created some data flows. So the one which we'll first do is the header one. So we have this data flow ZDF CDS sales header BT2. So we'll quickly open that. Okay, so this was there. This data flow comprised of the source system, which is the ODP CDS. Then we had the data source, which was based on the CDS view. And then we had the first layer ADSO and the second layer ADSO. This is basically your staging, and this is your integrated data warehousing. That's why the naming convention ZS and ZI. Both are field based for the time being. So we will convert it to an actual LSA++, similar to LSA++ layer later on tomorrow. But today we'll just see the functionality of the enhancements. So here, if you see the data source, let's quickly open the data source and see what fields are there. So we have the document number, category, type, last change, etc. We don't have the name one and land one. Those are not there. So this data source has to be enhanced. Now, this data source is based on what? Data source is based on the operational data provider, which gets generated out of the CDS view. So we'll copy this operational data provider name, which is nothing but your SQL view name. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll try to find that quickly in our SAP S4 HANA. So you can say Control Shift A and make sure the project is the S4 HANA, and we'll search for this. There you go. The view is there, dictionary view. And via this dictionary view, you can trace it back to the actual DDL source file. This is your DDL source file. So if you double click on this, we have the DDL source file. There you go. And on the left side, if you have this icon clicked, which says link with editor, automatically your tree will highlight that particular DDL source file. And under that package, which package we have. So we have this package, ZDEV BWBT2. We are creating everything there. So it automatically brought the treat there. Now this was the sales header CDS view which we created, where we had the document category, document type, and we also casted the data type of the last change date and time, and extracted the first 14 characters or digits, and then you saw how we did the generic delta based on that. So now what we have to do is we have to enhance this. Okay. So there are two ways to enhance it. Either you can add it right here after this field. Maybe you can type and add more fields, right? That is one way. And since this is our ZCDS view, we can easily do that. We can add fields, but in BW side, of course, you have to do a full load again to make sure that you have the historical data, or you can do an initialization again. So both are possible, either a full load or an initialization to get the historical data for the new fields, because CDS view is virtual. So it will always give you the fields, all the fields. If you do a full load, it will give you everything. If you do a delta load, then it will give you only delta records. So the process to initialize again or do a full load remains the same, even with the CDS views. But the only benefit is there is no setup table filling. There is no downtime required, so on and so forth. So that's a great benefit with CDS views. But for historical data for the new fields, you have to fill the data again in BW, either via full load or initialization again. So this is one way. You can add the field here. So what was the field we want? We want land one and name one. So I could have easily added land one and name one, right? And then I have to make sure that it is there in this particular CDS view. If it is not there, then of course I have to enhance it with a join or an association or something, right? So that is one way. But we are not going to do that way here. Why? Because the assumption here is that this is a standard CDS view. For example, right? Let's say this is a standard CDS view. This is not a ZCDS view, and you should not touch the standard CDS views. Okay. So if you cannot touch the standard CDS views, if you have to enhance it with your additional fields without touching the standard CDS views, then how do you do that? So the way you do it is with another CDS view, which is of type extend CDS view or extension CDS view. So we will quickly close this. I don't want to save this. Now I am trying to extend this particular CDS view. So what I will do is, this is the header one. You right click on this CDS view and you say new data definition. Click on this new data definition, and now it will bring you to the new data definition. Let's give it a name. So we will give ZI. Yeah. So this one, I already had the name, so it is popping up. So what you can do is, this is our name of the main CDS view. So you can just type EXT, okay, which is signifying that this is an extension CDS view. And description, you can give this one, sales header extension, trans sales header extensions. So we are extending the main CDS view with the help of this CDS view. Okay. Referenced object is this one. This is the main CDS view. Click on next. It's going to ask you the transport request. If you already have the transport request, it is already logged. That's fine. So I'll click on next. And now it will say that this is an extend view. So automatically your type of view will be highlighted as extend view, meaning extends an existing CDS view by adding the specified elements to the select list of the CDS view using a enhancement. So similar to what we used to do previously, we used to do an append structure. In the append structure, we used to add the fields and then we used to write the code, right? So in here, you will, instead of adding that append structure, you will create this extend CDS view, which will have this particular template. So I'm choosing the extend view template, click on finish. So it will have this particular format where you will say extend view. So the original view had define view. This was the keyword. And the extend CDS view has extend view, not define view, because this is a type of extension. So this will extend some other view, which is your main view. So it says ABAP catalog SQL view. Okay, so SQL view name, I will keep it naming convention. I'll just keep it same with the EXT. What is the maximum length of SQL view? How many characters or how many? How many characters? 31?
16.
16 characters. So make sure that this falls under 16. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 16. Okay, so it is correct. So we are just at the maximum 16, so it should accept. And then we have the description, which is fine. Now extend view, the main view with this extension view. Okay, this is our field name. So field name we'll choose later on. Now what I have to do is I have to say, okay, first of all, what I have to enhance land1 and name1, and where will I get this? Which table had land1 and name1? Does anyone remember that?
KNA1.
KNA1. KNA1 is a customer master. So what I will say left outer join KNA1. Okay, so it's not accepting that. It's saying unexpected word left. Okay. How about inner join?
I guess as should be coming before that left of the
Unexpected word inner. Where? Here you're saying?
Yeah.
Extend view with this view as, say for example, ZI. Okay. As is again unexpected. So you cannot have the as here. And you cannot have, if you remove as, then inner join is gone. So what will you do? So the concept is, for the extension views, the regular joins are not supported. Only associations are supported. So if you try to do an inner join, or if you try to do a left outer or any type of join, you will face error. And the reason is because only associations are supported, not the joins. Now we don't know the concept of association, right? So let's quickly do a little bit of a theory with associations. What is associations? But please remember, for the extension CDS views, associations are allowed, joins, regular joins are not allowed. So let's quickly see what is an association in CDS view, and then we'll jump to the system. So what is an association? Association is a join on demand. That means the join will be triggered only when you will request any field from the join partner. So for example, if your CDS view has 4 associations and user is fetching the fields only from 2 tables, the association on other 2 tables from which the fields are not requested will not be triggered, and system would return the results quickly. So it enables really high turnaround time as compared to regular SQL joins. So it is a faster than SQL join, but it is only triggered. And why it is faster? Because it is only triggered when you request the fields. Otherwise, it will not be triggered. That means your join condition, your join will not be executed in the backend. So this is how it looks like. This is a regular join. The bottom one, if you see, this is a regular join. From define view as select from this table, inner join, another table on the join condition and the fields, right? The association is define view as select from the table association to. So now the keyword is association to scar, and then the same condition. Condition is the same. There is no change in the condition. The only difference in the keyword is here it is join, here it is association. That's all. Now, when you request fields from an association, so this association, if you are requesting fields from the association, then name of the data source is mandatory for all the fields from association target. Okay. So that means that if you have association to SCAR, that is your association target. SPFLI is the source and then target is your SCAR. You have to provide the name of the source and the field. So the format is association target name and dot field name. If you are giving the name of association, you can do an as also. Association to SCAR as you can give a alias name. If you are giving that alias name, then the alias name will come here before the field name. But it is mandatory for you to qualify the field name with the association target name or the alias name if you have given an alias name to the association. Like as association to SCAR as underscore S if you give, then here it will be underscore S dot car name. So the name of the data source is mandatory if you are requesting fields from association. But in join, only if the name is non-unique, and that means if the name car ID belongs to both the tables, SPFLI also has car ID, SCAR also has car ID, then you have to provide the name of the table SPFLI. Otherwise, you don't need to provide. See here, there is no qualification of the table, just con ID, car name. That means it is understood that it will be taken from SPFLI and it is unique. Unique means SCAR will not have that, but car ID was there in both. That's why you have to qualify it. So that's where in the join you have to provide that only when it is non-unique. Okay, that means it is common in the tables. But here in the association, you always have to qualify the field name with the association name. That is the difference. So it is recommended, naming convention, it is recommended, but not necessary. It's not technically required, but it is a recommendation that the name of the association should begin with the character underscore. So keep that naming convention consistent. I would also recommend that. Why? Because when you expose the CDS views to O data, if there's any scenario where you have to expose the CDS view to O data, that means to the cloud providers or OData providers, they have a backend code, default code to identify underscore names as association, and it becomes easier for the OData to read the CDS view if you have the underscore. Okay. If you don't have the underscore for the association, still it will work, but it will take a longer route for the OData to identify that this is an association. But if you just give an underscore, then the OData providers can easily and quickly identify this as an association instead of a regular join. So technically not mandatory, but recommended to have underscore with the name before the name of the association. So like this, if you see the screenshot, what it is saying, define view this as select from whatever table is there, association 1. You can also say association, only association without any brackets and without any number. This is basically your cardinality. 1 is to n, n is to 1, 1 is to, like if you have left table only one record and it can have multiple records on the right side, then you can say 1 is to n, or you can have one record corresponding to only one record in the right side, then you can say 1 is to 1, so on and so forth. But even if you leave it, if you don't provide this, that's also fine. The system is capable to identify that what type of cardinality exists between the two tables. Is it 1 is to 1 or is it 1 is to n, so on and so forth. But if you want to provide it, you know the cardinality, you want to provide it, you can do that, or you can leave it just 1. So 1 means also 1 is to n. So by default, it will take that. So association, this is optional if you want to maintain the cardinality to the table as. Now here I am giving an alias name, and that alias name starts with underscore flights. So underscore and then the flights and then the condition. So similar to join, we need key fields to associate two different tables. So you need key fields. So key fields means the key fields of the tables. For association, key fields are usually required, and that key field should be a part of the selection. That means the main fields which you are choosing, that key field which you are using for the association, should be a part of the selection. So that those are some of the requirements for the association to work. And then if you have just exposed the entire association, like underscore flights is the name of this association. If you have not selected any field, if you just write underscore flights, that's all. Okay, that means you are exposing the entire association without selecting any fields, because here you are not saying underscore flights dot a field name. That's not there. Only underscore flights. That means you are exposing the entire association without requesting any fields. So what will happen if you do this? If you right click on this particular CDS view, and if you click on show SQL create statement, where you have just exposed the association, you have not used any field, then it will have a view in the backend created where it will only select from S flight. There will be no join with the SPFLI, because you have just exposed the association, you have not requested any fields. Whereas if you have done join, inner join or left outer join, you will see from this, and then the join condition will also be there. So irrespective of whether you request fields or not, the regular join will execute the join in the backend, but association is join on demand. On demand means only when you will request fields, the join will be executed. Otherwise, it will just be exposed. Associations can be exposed like this, and you will not have the join executed in the backend. But when you do the data preview, because you have exposed association, you can either right click on a particular record and say follow association, or you can click on this arrow on the top where it will show the children, which is the list of associations. And from there also you can jump to the associations. So underscore flights is one of the associations. If you jump there, it will show you the data for the SPFLI table now. So SPFLI table, you can navigate. So you can jump to SPFLI table from your main data preview. So in the first instance, or in the first data preview, there will be no join which will execute. But only when you will follow the association and go to the table, the target of association, and display the data, then the join will be executed. That's why it is faster and it is more optimized than your regular join. But there are certain limitations with associations. So SAP is still working on them. In the further releases, they might remove those restrictions. And that's why we still sometimes have to use the joins instead of associations. Now, if you include the field, now in the second scenario, what we are doing is we are saying we want airport from and airport to from underscore S flights. So you are actually requesting fields, not just exposing the association, but you are actually selecting the fields. Then you will see the create view statement will have from S flight and then join of SPFLI, and on the join condition is your client and CAR ID. So if you just expose the association, you can display the data and follow the association. The first instance, there will be no join. Only when you will request the fields, there will be join executed. But if you will actually request fields right in your CDS view, then the join will be executed. So this is similar to a regular join. So there is no difference there. But if you don't need that, if you don't need the fields, you can just expose the association, and in the data preview, they can jump to an association only when it is required. And when they jump here, when they jump to the association, then the join will be executed. That's the benefit. So this jumping, it was not possible with regular joins, but with associations, this jumping, this is also called like, drill down, report drill down. If you want to drill down from a first view to a more detailed view or to another set of details, you can do that with the help of associations. So this is why associations are preferred whenever possible. Again, it's not blindly you can replace the join with associations, because there are some limitations which are not there with joins, but there are some limitations with associations. And that's why sometimes we have to revert to joins. So this is the concept of association. So now coming back to the system, as I told you, joins are not allowed in the extend CDS view yet. Again, in future they might allow that, but right now only associations are there. So what we will say, association to KNA1 as underscore K. Let's give her a name underscore K. Okay. So we'll say association to, and then what comes? The on condition. On. Now, on, what I can say, the main view dot, what are we taking from there? We are taking, what is the common field? Customer is the common field. So sold to party is the customer. As a sold to party equals to underscore K dot Kunnr. Kunnr. Okay. So what I'm saying, I am associating my main view or the main CDS view to KNA1 on this field. And now what are the fields I have to take? Underscore K. Again, if I am taking from an association, I have to prefix with the name of the association underscore K dot, what is the land one? Land one, and then underscore K dot name one. There you go. Okay. Okay, so now what I'm saying is extend view this with my extension view association to KNA1 as my underscore K. Okay, on ZI sales header BT2, which is the main CDS view, dot sold to party equals to K dot Kunnr. Let's activate this. Let's see if there are any issues or if it activates successfully. I think people have joined. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So now, okay, there is an error. So we cannot activate this. Let's see what's the error. So you open the ABAP log. Okay, let's see what the ABAP log says. So this is the error. DDI, DDLS, ZI sales header BT2 is inconsistent. Why? The following errors are caused by extend CDS view. The table name ZI sales header BT2 is unknown or obscured by an alias. Okay. Can somebody tell me what is the problem? It's clearly telling you the table name is unknown or obscured by alias. What does that mean? Any idea?
We have to add annotation.
Yeah, annotation is required.
What annotation?
To use the existing CDS view in another.
Okay. What? So here you are saying I have to add an annotation here?
Yeah, I think just I'm guessing, Dipanshu.
No. This is not an annotation issue. It's clearly telling you, try to...
the SQL view.
Sorry?
Should we use the SQL view?
Oh, you want to use the SQL view here instead of the actual CDS view? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's try to do that. So he's saying, this is Suman, I'm assuming. So Suman is saying that let's try to use the SQL view. Okay, let's activate SQL view. Let's see. No, again, same problem. The table name is unknown or obscured by alias.
Give the alias name to the GI sales header underscore BT2.
So here you are saying?
Yes.
As ZIS. Okay, so it says unexpected word. You cannot do that. Not allowed.
Or else take out after on, take out the G and that SQL view dot. Only put say sold to party is equal to K underscore. Yeah, dot also you can take it out. Yeah. Yes, now try to activate it.
Let's try to activate it.
Devansh, it is the error in the main CDS, not in this. Maybe we need to pass this to that CDS or something.
Yeah. No. So this got activated. Why it got activated this time? So I removed the qualification name. This particular qualification name. So now it got successfully activated. Who suggested this, by the way?
Shankar.
Shankar. Why did you suggest this? And can you tell me how it resolved the problem?
Because we cannot able to give the alias name for the main view, right? So it intent take the field from the main view only if you are not specifying the alias name as also.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly. So there are two ways, or there are three ways, I would say, right, to fix this problem. The first way, as Shankar suggested correctly, you don't need to qualify the field from the main CDS view. Whatever you are extending, you don't need to provide the name. Okay. There is another way. If you want to use alias, okay, then you have to either provide the alias to this guy first. Okay, you'll have to say define view this as, okay, it's fine. Define view this as your ZD, I will give HDR, ZSD HDR, something. Okay, and it says that define multiple markers, unexpected words, ZSDR. No, not here, sorry, not here. Here. And then you provide the ZSDHDR before every word, like every key, every field. So you do this, dot. So you provide dot to every field, and then you can use this particular SDHDR here. Then you can say that on SDHDR dot sold to party equals to K dot Kunar. So you have to provide the alias first to the main view. That is the second way. Now that way is not possible if it's a standard CDS view, because if this is a standard CDS view, you are not supposed to touch the standard CDS view. So you will not be able to provide any modifications. So that second method is only possible if it's a Z CDS view and you are extending that with another CDS view. Then the second way is provide alias here, and then the alias name dot sales document, alias names dot sales document, provide alias name everywhere, and then you can do that. Then you can say here ZSDHDR dot sold to party equals to K dot Kunar. That's also possible. The third way is that if you don't want to, let me not save this. Okay. The third way is dollar projection dot sold to party. That is also possible. Let's try to activate that. And let's see if there's an error. Okay, so it activated successfully. So 3 ways. One is either you don't qualify it if it's coming from the main extend view, the main CDS view, or if you want to use alias, then you have to first provide alias to this source, and then of course you have to prefix all the fields with the alias. But that's not recommended, because if it's a standard CDS view, you are not supposed to touch it. Then you can use dollar projection also. Now I haven't discussed what is dollar projection, so I'm going to discuss dollar projection now, but this is the third way, and this is the recommended way. Okay, dollar projection is the recommended way. because dollar projection serves two purposes. Now let's see, let's quickly jump back to the concept of dollar projection. So there is something called dollar projection in CDS views, which is very frequently used, but you have to know the concept. Dollar projection is primarily used for two purposes in CDS views. The first purpose is if you don't want to provide the field name if you don't want to provide a field name on the on condition of the join or association, and you know that that field exists in this particular list of fields, then you can just say dollar projection and dot carrier ID. So that means you are not worried which table this is coming from. You just know that this is part of the actual fields I'm selecting, which is this carrier ID. So you can just say dollar projection, which will represent the list of all the fields you have selected in the CDS view. So this dollar projection dot carrier ID you can provide. So many times what happens is you're not sure of the table where it is coming from, but you know that it is a part of the selected fields. So you can just say dollar projection dot carrier ID on the on condition. You don't need to provide the table name, exact table name. Okay. So that is the first purpose. So that's what it says, on condition of an association. Okay. Also, you can do the join also. I think on condition will accept the dollar projection. So in the on condition of an association, it is possible to refer to an element of the element list instead of a field of the data source. So if you don't want the exact table name, you're not sure of the exact table name where this carrier projection dot will work because dollar projection represents the list of fields. So to do so, the field name has to be prefixed with a dollar projection instead of the data source or its alias name. In addition, as is used to define an alternative element name here. If you have used an alternate element name in the main list, then you use that particular name in the dollar projection. So what happens is sometimes you have multiple fields coming from the same table. So same table will have like plant. So plant can come from say for example T001W. Plant can also come from MARC, right? So if you have two fields here, now two fields are there. One is from the T001W, which is the main plant master data. One is from the material plant MARC, and both are there with the same name, but alias names are different. Now, if you want the condition, the association on the particular, the MARC one, which you have renamed as MARC plant, then you can use dollar projection dot MARC plant. You don't need to know the exact table where this particular field is coming from. You just know that, okay, I have to take it from the MARC plant. So you can just, instead of MARC plant, you can just say dollar projection dot carrier ID. So dollar projection is, the first purpose of dollar projection is to represent the list of fields, and then you can choose one of the fields from the list for the on condition, for the association or join on condition. That is the first usage. The second usage of dollar projection is when you extend a CDS view, the dollar projection will refer to the main CDS view which you are extending. It is not necessary, dollar projection, as we saw that if you don't qualify it, still it is fine, it will accept, but dollar projection makes it easier, and it is recommended because dollar projection will tell the system that, okay, this represents your main CDS view. Okay, but again, you cannot, it's not technically mandatory, you can leave it as it is, but here we are just using the dollar projection. This is the second purpose we are solving with dollar projection. Second purpose means it represents your main CDS view. See, here we are not using the sole to party and Pooner here. In land, we have land one and name one. These are two separate fields completely. So this is the second purpose we are solving by providing the alias as the field list of dollar projection to the main CDS view, which has this sold to party. So both you can do. So there are three ways. First is don't give any qualification, that's fine. Or you can give dollar projection dot sold to party. Dollar projection will refer to your main CDS view. Or you can, the third way is provide the alias name to this guy and then prefix it and then use the same alias name here. Try that. Try that method as an assignment. Provide the alias name here, prefix it to every field, activate this particular CDS view, and then come back to the extend CDS view and provide the name of the alias you gave there to the sold to party, because that alias, since it is used in the main CDS view, it will be accepted there as well. But if you are not supposed to touch that CDS view at all, the main one, then you can use either dollar projection or you don't qualify. So these are the two main usages of dollar projection. You will see this in the standard CDS view. If you will open, they have used dollar projection a lot, and the reason they have used this because they don't want to provide the main field name. They have given alias names and they want to use those alias names in the on condition. So dollar projection comes very handy there, basically. So this is the usage of dollar projection. So now what we'll do is, this is already activated successfully. So we are good. Let me activate it again just to make sure. Control F3. And it should be activated now. Let's see, it's activating. Yeah, it says object BT2 EXT activated. So now our extend view is activated. Okay, so let's close this. And now again, let me quickly refresh. So now we have three DDL source file definition. One is BT2 for header, one is ITM2 for item, and now we have the header BT2 extension, which is the extension CDS view. So now what we'll do is we'll open the main view again. And do you see any difference from the previous definition to this definition of the main CDS view? Can someone tell me what is the difference?
Line 11, there's a small circle.
That's right. Line 11, there is a icon for extension. This is the icon for extension, meaning it will tell you that, okay, this particular CDS view is extended with another CDS view, and that will give the name of that particular CDS view. Okay, that is one way. Or you can just click on the main CDS view and press F2. When you press F2, that will also tell you that this is extended with this particular CDS view, and it will give you all the fields, including the fields we added, land one and name one. And if you go to this small icon which says detail with append structure, then you will see that this is my CDS view and this is the append structure with land one and name one. So I have just one extension to my main. If you have multiple extensions, then you will see multiple extension here. Okay. So this is actually, so your extension view, your extension view has actually extended your main CDS view. So from the main CDS view, if you right click, open with data preview, this is my main CDS view. You will see that I have land one and name one coming in the main CDS view now already. So that means my main CDS view has been extended with the two additional fields of land one and name one. And if you go to the SQL view, this is my SQL view. So let me navigate to the SQL view. You will see a dot append here, right? In the main SQL view, what happened was, and dot append structure was added and land one and name one got added. This is similar to what we used to do previously. We used to enhance the extract structure of the data source with the append structure, and then we used to add land one, name one, and then write the code. So now with this extend CDS view, the append structure is already added, and the main CDS view also has the data for name1 and land1 coming directly. So now we have actually extended our main CDS view with the extend CDS view, and automatically the SQL view of the main CDS view has these two fields. And if you see the select, this select is taking data from your main CDS view. So from is your main CDS view, ZI sales header BT2. So land1 and name1, this is name1, this is land1, is automatically added to your main CDS view. So this is how you will extend your standard CDS views with your extension CDS views. But if it is not a standard CDS view, if it's a Z, then you can directly add fields here. You don't need to create an extension CDS view. But if it's a standard one, then definitely you'll have to create an extension CDS views. During the upgrade, when your S4HANA will get upgraded, then during the upgrade, your extension CDS views will not be impacted. It will stay as it is. If your main CDS view is enhanced or there is some change which happened because of the upgrade, your extension CDS view will be reactivated to make sure that they point to the modified standard CDS view. So don't worry, during the upgrade it will be taken care of. So this is how we will do it. Now in the BW side, let's see what we have to do. So if you go to the BW side, okay, my flow is already there. In my data source, these two fields are not yet there. So these two fields are not there. I have added in my CDS view. So it is definitely there as part of the operational data provider, but I don't have this in my data source. So what I'll have to do, I'll have to replicate the data source again. Okay, that process is the same. Previously also we had to re-replicate the data source in order to make sure that the enhanced fields are visible now. Okay, so we'll do the same. We'll go to BW. We'll open the SAP GUI editor, and then we'll go to what T code? RSDS. So there you will provide the name of the data source. This is the name of the data source. And what is the source system? Source system is ODP CDS. So there, ODP CDS. And then you press Control Shift F2 as a shortcut, or you can go from the menu option also, which says data source, replicate data source. So now we are replicating the data source. So if it's a single data source, I prefer RSDS, but if there are multiple data sources, you can also right click on the source system and say replicate. That will also do the same thing. The only difference is there it is with multiple data sources. Here it is with just one. So it says data source replicated successfully. So I'll close this. Okay, I'll close this. I will press F5 to make sure it is updated. Control F3 to activate it. I'm just activating the data flow, guys. Okay, not the data source. So okay, it is updated successfully. Now I'll go back to my data source to see if it got the new fields. Yes, country key, land one and name one is now available in my data source. So data source now got the new fields. If you want to see the data preview, you can do a data preview from the data source itself. Okay, without even enhancing the transformation. So in the data source itself, you can say that how much data has come in. So we'll see that, and then name one and land one should be populated here. Okay, so name one and land one from the CDS view is being populated also to our data source. So good. So now what we have to do, will these fields be available in my upper layer automatically or not? These guys, will it be available?
No.
Why not? It's a
No,
CDS view, right? It should automatically be available.
Yeah, they should be available.
They should be available
Yeah.
or not?
No, Devansh.
Who's that? Can I know your name? Who's saying no?
Srini.
Srini, why do you say no?
Yeah, because in the ADSO, we need to add the objects manually and then map it to the data source.
Okay. Who is the gentleman who said yes, they will be available automatically? May I know your name?
Vijay.
Vijay. Vijay, why do you think that they will be automatically available?
Because it's a field based.
Okay. It's a field based, so
So when I
automatically.
replicate the data source, I
Yeah.
felt that the DSO should also, because we didn't map any fields when we are
We
trying
did
to
the
map.
transformation. We did. Transformation is our mapping. So we did create transformation here also. We did create transformation here also. So whether it is a CDS view based or a standard data source based, you have to add fields manually. It will not happen automatically. Okay. Data source, definitely it will happen as soon as you add it in the CDS view, but not in the ADSOs. ADSOs, you have to manually do that. So in this case, if I go to my ADSO, let's see if I have the field. So no, land one and name one did not automatically come. So you have to manually, of course, add it. So now this is field based, right? So tomorrow what we'll do is we'll create the LSA++ similar flow, both for the header and for the item. For header, we'll take the standard data source, 12 B4H ADSOs. And for item, we are going to take the CDS view. I am going to show you a hybrid because I want both sides, the standard flow also and the CDS flow also, so that we can see both the sides. So, but for today, for the time being, we'll just add the fields. So we'll say land one. This is my country key. I think that's the country key, and name one. So country key is 3 and this is 35. So we'll say country key is 3, char 3. And then again, I will add another field, which I will call it name one. This is name one. Or you can give a meaningful name also, but that's fine because we are going to anyways use the info objects later on. So this is just for demonstration. And this is char 35. I want to keep it consistent with the data source. And then I will activate. Now my question is to you guys, will it allow me to successfully activate the ADSO or not? Or will it throw an error?
It should allow.
Who's that?
Shorish.
Okay.
It will look for mapping in the transfer.
First, let's see if there is already data in this ADSO or not. First, let's check that. So we'll see reporting view data, whether this, yeah, so this ADSO has data. Now you are adding fields and activating. Will it allow or not?
It should.
Yes, it should allow.
Because we are not changing the key. So we are not changing the granularity. So it should allow to activate.
Correct. Absolutely. So if you delete a field, then it will throw an error. Or if you change the key field, then it will throw an error because the data is already there. If data is not there, you can do all kinds of changes to the definition. But if data is there, then you cannot remove a field or change the key field if the key field is there. But adding a field is fine. That will and that should allow us to add a field even if the data is there without any issues. So control F3, let's see if our understanding is correct. Okay, so it activated successfully. It just gave some warnings you can avoid for the time being. So name one and country key is basically populated. Now, if I now do a data preview, will I get values in name one or and land one or not? No. Because data source has values. We saw that.
Mapping is to be done.
No.
Mapping. Yeah. The transformation mapping has to be done. So if, once I do the mapping, will data be available automatically?
No.
ETB has
No,
to.
you need
yes.
to.
So that process is the same. Please understand why I'm telling you all this. I know this is very basic thing, but the reason I'm telling you is because many people get confused that if it's a CDS view, everything will happen magically automatically. No, that's not the case. The only difference between the standard data source and the CDS view based data source is that you will not have setup tables, you will not have downtime, all those things you can avoid. But when it comes to BW side, all that process will remain the same. There is no change there. Okay. So if I do a data preview now, okay, let me do data preview from the table number 7, the reporting view.
Devanshu, like for the traditional data source also, like if we are activating down here, so still we do not need a info package, right?
For the data source?
Yeah, I mean, say
Yes. For the data source, you don't need info package, definitely. But the data source preview, like this, the data source preview, I don't think was available prior in the previous BW systems. Was it? The PSA table, only when
PSA,
you
yeah,
load. No. But PSA was populated only when you load the data.
Correct.
Not
Yeah.
without running the info package. Without
Right.
running the info package, there was no way you can check the data from the data source.
Right, absolutely.
Only in the source side, you could have checked the data with RSA3. That's possible.
Yes.
But here in the data preview, we can immediately see with the CDS view, because it's based on CDS view, you can immediately see that the data source has value. Yes, you're right. Now you see name one and land one is blank. So the data preview still works. There is no problem. You just added the fields and they are not part of the key field. So they will show up, but as blank. Now, if you want historical data for them, the process is the same. You just do a full DTP, run a full DTP, and then if it's an override, so it will override the previous record. If it's not override, then of course you have to delete the data and then reload. So that process of BW remains the same. There is no change. Okay. And then same thing. So now what we'll have to do is we'll have to go to the transformation. So I've added it here. Let me go back to my data flow. Everything you can work with the data flow. And now you see there is a red symbol. Red symbol means because you enhanced the data ADSO, it automatically deactivated the transformation and the DTP, of course. So now you right click and say display transformation, and then you can do the mapping. So now we'll go to the rules, and there you will see the country and name one is not mapped. So I will map the country key to country key. You can do it like this. So one I will do like this, and the second one how I'll do is, so I'll go to the outline and I will go to the rules. So there is no update. No update is for last and date time, that is fine. And name one. So I will go to name one, go to properties. This is another way I'm showing you. Okay. So name one, I will say rule description, which is no update right now. I'll change it to direct assignment. Everything you do in the properties window. Okay. Previously we used to do in this also, we used to double click on this and do it. But now everything is done in the properties, and also outline view is very handy for you to jump directly there. So we'll say name one, rule description is not mandatory. So you can leave it blank, direct assignment, and the add field as a source. So what is the source field for us? Name one is name one. Okay. So map source field will show as name one, and there is no, this is a direct assignment. So there is no routine or anything, but these are the different rule types available in the transformation. Don't worry, when we'll come to transformation, we will deal in detail with the end routine, start routine, field routine, etc. But these are the ones. We already had this previously. Direct assignment was there, formula was there, lookup is enhanced. Lookup was there, but it is now enhanced in BW for HANA. Constant, routine, and no update. Okay. So lookup is basically, you can look up from either an ADSO or a info object master data. Both lookups are possible. So either it has to be an ADSO or it has to be an info object. So now, right now, I'm just going for direct assignment for this, and for my country land one, it is already mapped to land one. So I'm fine there. So now I will activate this.
Devanshu, there are no ODQ fields mapped, right? Is it okay?
Yeah, it is fine. It is fine. There are no ODQ mapped. Why it is fine is because this is a generic delta. See, the header is generic delta. It is not using the ODQs. The item is using ODQs because that is based on annotation. So as long as you are not using annotation, as long as it is a generic delta, meaning BW is identifying the delta based on the field you have designated, it is fine. Even if the fields which are ODQ, entity counter, and another one is the change mode, even if they are not mapped, it's fine for the generic delta. But for the item, it will definitely be mapped because it is using ODQs. Okay. So this is activated successfully. So now the red symbol should go away. Red symbol is gone. Right click on the DTP because DTP is also inactive. So we will. By the way, that was a very good question. Okay, so it can definitely confuse you when you see that the two ODQ specific fields are not mapped, and the reason it is not mapped is because it's a generic delta, not using the ODQs. Okay, let's activate the DTP.
So we differentiate that from the data source.
We differentiate that from the data source.
Data source.
Data source.
Correct.
Data source.
Like once it is tick mark, then it is delta, and otherwise it is not.
No. Both are delta. Both my data source for item and header are delta. But this particular data source is using the generic delta, meaning you will see from here data source property. So if you go to extraction, it is saying override delta without deletion BW local. If it says this BW local, meaning it is a generic delta, not based on your ODQs. And then the delta properties you have to provide, and you can provide that. Whereas in the item flow, so I'll show you the item flow. So sales item, this is my item flow. Here, if you see the data source property, here it will say that this is using the ODQ, the delta Q override delta with deletions. There is no BW local, and you cannot use the delta property. So this is using the ODQs, meaning the two fields change data mode. Guys, can you please be on mute? People who are not speaking, I would request you to be on mute, please. I can hear some background noise.
Yes.
Let me mute.
పగిలిపోయింది సేమ్ నీకు కూడా మరి వెళ్ళేదాకే నీ అట్లా ఏదైనా కానీ తర్వాత
Let me see.
మామూలుగా
Mute them.
ఉంటే చూపిస్తారా
Shankar. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay. So, so if it is ODQs, then the fields will be mapped. And if it is not ODQs, if it is BW local, that means it's generic delta, then you don't need those two fields to be mapped. Your record mode will still be populated successfully. Okay. Now, coming back to our main flow. So the DTP is activated. So you can see in the flow, the DTP will be activated. Yes. Now control F3. Okay. So now if you want the historical data, definitely you can do a full DTP to this, and this will have the historical data, or you can delete the data and then run the delta, which will bring the data. So what we are going to do now. So what we'll do is, okay. Another thing is the top layer also got inactive. The transformation got inactive. The DTP got inactive because the source for this is now enhanced with two new fields. So let's make sure we add it here also. So what we'll do is we'll go to the details. We will add the same, add fields. Land 1, which is my country key. This is char 3. And then I will add name 1. This is name 1. Just for the time being, I'm just giving this. Okay. And then I will save this and activate it. Okay, activate successfully. So the symbol of transformation will be still inactive because we haven't mapped it. So let's map it now. So in the rules, now we have name 1, going to name 1 since it's a red assignment, I can directly do this, or land 1 to land 1 country key and just activate it. Excuse me. Okay, good. It is activated successfully. Now let me go to DTP and activate the DTP. It's a Delta DTP. Okay, so it's both activated successfully. Now let's quickly delete the data. So what we'll do is right click and go to manage. That will jump to the cockpit, available from our cockpit, where we'll delete the data completely and then reload. Okay, so we'll just say further actions, delete data. It will ask you whether you want selective deletion or full deletion or request wise. I want deletion, complete deletion. Data will be deleted. Yes, that's fine. So this is the staging layer ADSO. I've deleted the data, and then from the main ADSO, I can go to manage. See, everything I'm doing from the DFM, data flow modeler. So this is your one-stop shop to do all your modeling. And also if you want to jump to manage or the transformation DTPs, you can do from there. I'll do delete data. Okay, so it's successfully done. So let me make sure. So what I will do is from the ADSOs, this one, I will just say display reporting view data. Okay, it's blank. And then we have the ZS HDR2. I'll do the data preview from this. It should be blank. Okay, so everything is cleaned. We have a fresh start, and now we can run the DTP. Which DTP? The first layer DTP, which is taking data from your data source to your ADSO. So I will quickly run this. Okay, this is again jumping to cockpit as usual, and now we should see all the records will be transferred, and this should be delta in it. Yeah, I think because the data is deleted, right? Okay, it's still running. Okay, all the records got successfully transferred. Let's see if this was a delta init. Yes, this was delta initialization. This would have created a, will this create a subscription or not? Question.
Yes, new subscription.
New subscription?
Yeah.
Who's that? Vijay?
Vijay. Vijay.
Do you guys agree? This will create a new subscription?
No, this is ODP.
No,
This
no,
is not
Divanshu.
ODQ.
Okay, who says no? Devi, was it you?
Yes, Divanshu.
Why are you saying no subscription?
Uh, because this has been created with the generic delta.
Correct, exactly. So please remember that the header is created with generic delta. Generic delta do not use the ODQs.
ODQ. Sorry,
That means
yeah.
there is no, yeah, I deliberately asked this question to ensure you remember this or not. So only when you will use the annotation based delta, which will use the ODQs, your subscription will be created. Okay, so the delta initialization is done. Now, what we'll do is we'll go to manage request and we'll try to activate. Okay, it's giving you the option to change the data, just like PSA. Why? Because this was inbound queue plus active data, compress data is there. So let's see if it will allow me to activate. No, it does not allow me to activate. Why it's not allowing me to activate? Quickly.
Because we don't have change log here.
So
We need to propagate.
We have to propagate to next level DSO.
why?
Before we activate.
Why?
Because the next DTP is the delta DTP, second level DSO DTP. So it needs a delta mart status, I mean like a delta
That's right.
point.
That's right. Absolutely. So now what we'll do is we'll go to the flow again. We'll open this particular DTP. Let me close the item flow. We're not dealing with that. Okay, so this is from my staging to my integrated data warehousing layer. So let me run this. Sorry. Okay, so the request got successfully extracted. Now I'm going to manage request here and activate the data here. See, once you get used to the cockpit is very easy and intuitive, and on the web you are doing everything, so it's a little bit fancy as well. So get used to cockpit. So activate request, which is fine. We'll activate the request. Now this should allow, because there is no further target attached with Delta. So we'll activate this. So activation request is this one. Let's see if it got successfully activated. Yeah, activation is successful. If you want to see the data and activator table, you can see that from here. Of course, you will not be able to change here because now it is activated, but you could have changed before the activation. So this is the data you can see in the active table. Okay, this is fine. And then now what we'll do is this particular, okay, this is something else. Now, if you want to go back to the DTP screen for the first DTP, so this one we activated, but the first DTP, which is from the data source to the target, you can go to show last request from here, or data transfer monitor here, or process chain monitor here. If this DTP is part of a process chain, you can easily jump to the process chain also. But I'm going to say the show last request, which will be inactive request.
Sorry to interrupt you. And like earlier versions, if I want to see for which data targets it has been propagated, is it possible here?
Yeah. It is possible here for which data target it is. So that you will get from the ADSO manage. So I'll try to show you there.
Okay,
so let's activate it here first. Okay, so it activated successfully. Yeah, activation is done. Okay, so my both DSO is activated. Now quickly see if the new field, which is what? Which is your name one and land one got successfully populated or not. So I'll go to the reporting view data. Okay, where is my name one and land one? There. So name one and land one both got successfully populated. And in the next layer, which is my integrated data warehousing layer, I'm going to right click and say display reporting view data, and my name one and land one also successfully got activated. So now what Devi wants to see is, in the previous version, we could see that, okay, this request was successfully propagated to the next target, right? So in that case, what you have to do is you have to go to manage. So say, for example, on the staging layer, we'll go right click and manage the DSO advanced. It will take you to the manage screen of the ADSO. Now this manage screen will have default view and it will have advanced view. There are two views for the manage. The default view will not show you all the details. Of course, it will show you that, the updated to all targets. It is showing you here in the target updated to all targets. If you click here, then it will show you that this is a particular DSO, which is a load request is there, and we have the inbound table and the activation is successful. Details of the activation request, it will show you, but it will not show you the exact targets where it got loaded. So there the advanced view comes into picture. So if you go to advanced view, you can see that we have the sources, and we have the targets. By default, source and target will not be selected. Only the loads and activation will be selected. That means load request is this one and the corresponding activation request is this one. Okay. So if you see, if you highlight the relationship, that means this request is connected to this request, and these are records, the other records. If you scroll this bar to source and expand this bar to target, then you can see that, okay, this is my source, which is my data source, okay, ZDS, ZVA, which is the ODP CDS of type ODP CDS, update mode is Delta, and this is the target, ZI. So the data is propagated, this request is propagated from here to here. So on the cockpit, if you want to see the entire mapping and you want to see the source and you want to see the target, then you have to go to the advanced view of the manage ADSO. Okay, and if you have multiple requests, then if you just highlight the relationship, it will immediately tell you that this request belongs to this load request, this activation request belongs to this load request, and the source and target will be shown. If you can just say last 20 requests, you can just say today, yesterday, and today in the past week. Remember, previously we used to go to that filter and say that past week, in the month, so on and so forth, and free date selection also you can do. So if I just say this month and last month, of course, I deleted the data, so there's just one request. But if you want to see the previous request, you can see easily from the manage ADSO advanced view. And then you can also say, I want to only see the green request or the erroneous request or the running request, so on and so forth. Okay, good question, by the way.
Thanks.
It will not show the request number.
This is the request number. Please be familiar with the new request number concept. There is no longer REQ, that is gone. Now this is the request number for you. 2020-09-12 this CST. This is request number. This is called TSN, transaction sequence number. This is the new format of request ID. There is no more REQ. So this will be in the format of your YY, MM, DD, HH, MM, SS, a number, sequential number, which will keep increasing, because in the same day, if you do, or within the same second, if you do multiple, then the numbers will be sequential. And then the time zone, CST, is my current time zone for my cockpit. And these are the records. So this is the new request number format, which is called TSN, transaction sequence number.
RSRQ is still there, Devanshu? RSRQ?
RSRQ, I think, yeah, RSRQ is still there. But, the certain functionalities which was available for info cubes will not be there. Certain functionalities which were there for multi-providers will not be there. They are all now connected to ADSOs and composite providers.
Devanshu, one more question.
Let's keep the questions for the end, guys. I have a lot to cover. So let's not jump into the question answer session right now. So I would request you to hold on to that, and then we can take it up later on. So now we have modified our header. Now quickly let's modify our item as well. Okay, let me quickly activate this. Okay, now we'll modify the item. So now you will have to guide me. How do I identify, or how do I modify the item one? So this is our item flow. This is the DDL source file. So let me close the header flow. I'll open the item flow quickly. Batch 2, data flow, and item. Okay, so this is my item right now. Simple source system. There is a data source, and this data source is based on an annotation based CDS view. And then we have the staging ADSO. Now what we'll do is we'll enhance the item. So I will open the item. Now you please guide me. So let me pick, I don't know, who wants to go? Devi. Let's yeah, you are becoming my favorite for these type of questions. So please guide me. How do I enhance my item CDS view?
Okay, Devanshu. Just go to DDL source. We have to create another DDL source file.
So this is my DDL source file for item.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what do I have to do?
Just right click and I forgot the option. Just please give the right click.
Sure.
And new data definition. Select
Correct.
New data definition.
Okay. So let's give the name. So the name will give same ZI. So instead of header, I will give ITM. Okay. Sorry. And then I will give trans sales item. What was the name we gave? Extension, right?
Yeah. Extension.
Okay. Trans sales extension, ZI sales item BT2 _ EXT. Reference update is this. Okay. Let's click on next. It's going to ask you for a transport request. I already have one, so I'm going to choose that. Click next, and then automatically it came to extend view. Do I need to do anything here?
No, Divanshu.
Okay, let's click on finish.
Yeah.
Okay, now please guide me.
Here, what field we are? MTART?
Correct. So let's go back to our Excel sheet. Item. Yeah, MTART, material type.
So we have to get the MTART from Mara table.
That's right. So what should I say? Mara.mtart. This.
Yes, and extend view sets.
That's it. Should I activate it?
No. Just I'm thinking. Extend view and with SQL. SQL view name here we have to provide.
Correct. So is there a format I have to follow, or I can just give something, anything?
No. We have to give the SQL name of the previous CDS view name, previous SQL name, or
Okay, so this is our main CDS view. Okay,
yeah.
item. Copy this and then come to the extension. So you're saying the same SQL view name we have to give here?
Because we are enhancing the same SQL view, so
so the same name we'll give here.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what's next?
Yes, please correct me if I forgot.
I will correct you at the end. Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, and some delta annotations we have to give because this is the delta annotation based delta.
Okay, so you are saying that we have to give some annotations similar to here, these?
Yeah. Analytics.data extraction.enable true and delta annotation, not that, and view based delta annotation, field based delta annotation we have to give here.
Okay. Suresh, do you agree with her?
No, Divanshu, because it has been already there. Just we are extending only. We are not creating the new CDS view.
Correct. Exactly. You got it. Saved me few types. Okay, good. Next. So what do we have to do now?
And we have to give the alias and we have to get the Mara table and the alias some.
How do I give that?
Extend view with
Left outer join or inner join?
inner join.
Inner join.
Last time we left outer we have given, I think.
Okay, last one we was left outer, so we'll give left outer. Okay, Mara. It's saying unexpected word. Sorry, left.
Yeah, and we have used association now.
Yes, correct. Yes. Now you will not forget. Okay, association Mara. Okay, association Mara. That's it.
No, Dipanshu, and as I forgot the keywords to be honest. Association
Dollar
Mara,
parameter.
dollar projection, some dollar
Projection.
projection.
Okay, you're saying dollar projection dot Mara.
Yes.
Okay, dollar projection Mara.
Association. As M.
Okay, as M. Okay. Then that's it. Should I activate?
Just let's try to activate. Then it will.
See, first of all, it's showing error. It's saying unexpected word dollar projection. The keyword to was expected.
Propagation or
association.
Association to, I think, should be followed by.
Association to table name, then on condition.
Correct. Association always follows to. You are
Yeah, here.
associating to something, right? So simple English, association to what?
Table name, Mara.
So no dollar projection, you are saying?
No.
Dollar projection
Yeah,
was with the
dollar
source
projection
table.
will
The
come
source
in
table.
the, within
Will
the,
go to on condition.
Correct. Dollar projection will not come here. So association to Mara as M is correct, or should I?
Underscore M.
Underscore M. Why underscore M? Is it technically mandatory? No, it is not, but it is recommended because OData can easily
OData
identify that.
services.
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, underscore M. Then
On
what?
Dollar projection.
Correct. Dot what?
The field.
MTAT.
Dollar projection, the source.
Is MTAT the common field between?
No, material.
Join.
Material number.
material number.
Join field we have to.
So what is the material number here in our main?
Matner.
Matner, yeah.
Equals to what?
Underscore M dot Matner.
Good. On projection, dollar projection dot Matner equals to underscore M, which is association dot Matner. So there's a warning here. What is the association dot M is not used. Okay, then what do I have to do?
Needs change Mara to M.
Mara to
M dot.
Underscore M dot.
Underscore M dot.
Exactly. So we are taking the association, the field from the association, which is the underscore M, and then the MTAT, which is your material type. Activate. No need to give any delta annotation here or any analytics annotation here. Okay, there is a problem. What is the problem, guys? Can somebody guess the problem without even going to the error log? I don't want to show you the exact root cause. You should immediately identify this. Suresh, please tell me what is the problem?
It's a SQL view. No, sorry.
Who was that?
It was Vijay.
I know you are very eager to jump to the answers, but yeah, you're right. You're right. It is the SQL view. The SQL view is the same as this SQL view. So you are saying that the SQL view generated out of this is also same name. SQL view generated out of this is also same name. Is it possible?
No.
No. So what did we do in the header?
Underscore ext.
Yeah.
No, just ext we have written.
Why can't I do underscore ext?
16 character length.
Exactly. It will violate the 16 character length. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay. Should we activate and see if this gives any error? Let's do that.
Yeah, it is
already giving.
already giving, yeah.
Correct. It is already saying that is not allowed. So I don't want to see the error. I know what the error is and I will just say activate. Okay. Come on. All right. So this is done. It is activated. Now let's close this. Close the item 1. And then we'll refresh and we'll see the nice spiral icon again. So I'll just do a right click. I'll say refresh and I'll open the item extension now. And it should show me, not extension, sorry, the main. Come on. The main one, which is my item, and that should show me that icon for the extension. There you go. Line 15. It says that this is extended, okay, with this one. And if you right click on this, and if you say open SQL create statement, okay, show SQL create statement, you can also see that it is doing a left outer join to Mara. Okay. Now I did not give any cardinality. When I did the association, I did not give any cardinality. meaning that it is already taking left outer many to 1. It already identified the cardinality. So if you don't give the cardinality, it will automatically identify the cardinality. And the default, the association is left outer many to 1. Join Mara equals to A0 on the client. Automatically the client field is taken. We haven't given this in the on condition. We just gave the Matner. Client is automatically added because the tables are client specific tables. That's why MA and DT is automatically added. So this is automatically added to the SQL view creation of the main CDS view. So that means your main CDS view's view, SQL view, is automatically extended. So you can go to right click and just say navigate to, or you can just press F3. You will see that this SQL view have an append structure automatically added, and that will have your mtart added as a material type field. So we have added that in our item CDS view. And now what we'll have to do is, again, data preview. Let's do a data preview. We didn't do that. So right click, open with data preview. Okay. And I can just select columns. I will just deselect everything. The key fields are automatically selected. And where is my mtart? So I'll just say mtart. There you go. Okay. And this is helpful when you have a lot of fields. You just want to see the specific fields which are enhanced. Then you can go to select columns and you can do that. So we have a sales document number, we have item number, and we have the mtart populated successfully for all the records, 95 records. Okay. So now same thing we'll have to do in the BW side also. We'll have to enhance our data source, not enhance, the replicate the data source, enhance the ADSO. So let's quickly do that, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll jump to ADSOs, which is the main topic for today. So let's quickly do that. So I will go back to my item flow. This is my item flow. Okay. Now data source, let me quickly see if the mtart field is added or not. So extraction, mtart, no, mtart field is not there. Okay. Matner is there. Yeah, Matner and all those things are there. mtart is not there. Now what I will do is I will replicate this data source. So open a session, take the name from the overview. This is the data source name. Go there, RSDS, sorry, name, DPCDS, and replicate. Excuse me. Let's quickly check whether we have data in the ADSO or not. So this is my item ADSO. Let's see if we have data. So reporting view data, I think we will have from our previous loads. So yeah, records are there. So it is saying replicated successfully. Let's close the DSO. Let's press F5 so that it has the latest one, and then Control F3 to activate the DF data flow, just to make sure that it reflects the updated fields. And then you double click on this data source node and go to the data source and check whether the field is added or not. mtart. So mtart material type is now added, and it is also by default selected. Okay, so we close this. So data source preview, let's quickly do the data source preview here. Okay, so this is good. So where is my mtart? There you go. So mtart is there, which is my populated for all the records. Okay, good. So my data preview is looking good. Now what I'll do is I'll have to just add in the ADSO. Same thing. Again, this is all field based. Don't worry. Tomorrow we are going to create the info source. We are going to create the ADSO with info objects. And then we are going to do the transformation. So exact LSA++ like flow, all custom flow, but exactly similar to LSA++. Okay, so we will go to the details here. Same thing we are going to add in the characteristics. So we'll add the field. It will be M dot, which is my material type. Okay, what is the length? Let's see from the data source what is the length of this field. So my M dot is char 4. So I'll come here as char 4. Okay, and then I'll just save it and then activate it. So Control F3 is the keyword shortcut for activation. So it is activated successfully, no problems, but it would have deactivated your transformation and DTP. There you go. So we'll right click on this display transformation. And from here, we'll go to the rules. Okay, we'll go to the outline. The rules, there is a no update rule here for material type. So you click on that and then go to properties and then direct assignment. No, not this, sorry. This one. MTAT, no update. So I will go in direct assignment and then I will add the field as MTAT. Okay, looking good. So now it has come as a part of the direct assignment. There is no update now. Okay, all are direct assignments, and then there is one technical rule, which is the calculation for ODP. So Control F3 to activate. Okay, done. And then we have our DTP, which is inactive. So we'll right click on it and go to the DTP. Delta, nothing, we need to do nothing, just activate. Okay, so it's done. So let's quickly check the ODQ mon because this is going to create the subscription, Delta subscription. So we'll quickly jump to our S4 and we'll go to ODQ mon. Okay, so provider is our ABAP Core Data Services. Okay, switch on technical name. So what is the name? This one, ZV Sales ITM BT2. This is the name of the SQL view, right? So let's quickly make sure it is correct. ZV Sales ITM BT2. So that's what it is. So here we have one subscription is active. Okay. BT2, there you go. Let's see. Okay, so this subscription is with JDI data source name. This is the one JDI which we just activated, and this subscription is active now. So this subscription, let's see what is the time. Time is the 5th September 2031. That is the subscription, and this is the DTP which created the subscription. Okay. Now what we'll do is we will first delete the data. We'll clean the data. So we'll right click on the ADSO. We'll say manage. Again, jump into cockpit, and then from there we will delete the data. We'll say further actions, delete data completely. I want to delete. Okay, so data is successfully deleted. Now we go back and now we go to the DTP. There you go. And then I will run the DTP. Execute and open monitor. Excuse me. We take a screenshot of this. Okay. Refresh. Okay, all 95 records got transferred successfully. So since this is a standard ADSO, we will have the activation here. So we'll quickly activate it. You can see here, change request data is there. That means you can edit the data if you want to. So we'll quickly activate the data. And by the way, this would have created the subscription because this is delta initialization. If I'm not wrong, let's see quickly. Okay, activation is good. So this is delta initialization. Yes, this is delta initialization. And now we will see what did it change to? It changed to 12 September right now, 1913. 1913 means India time. So because this S4HANA, the time zone is India. So right now it is showing this, and this is the new subscription. Okay, the previous subscription is invalidated. The previous subscription is invalidated. So if you go back to this, okay, refresh this one, refresh, gone. So previous subscription you will not be able to see, right? Because it is invalidated. The new subscription has taken its place. DTP is the same DTP, but a new subscription got triggered. Okay, then if you go inside here, then you will see, of course, there is a request ID where it went ODQ data underscore C. Why? Because this is an initialization request. So it went there, subscription is the same, okay, 1913. And then you can see the data of that particular, this is the units. Units means total 95 rows. This is the compression, 91% data was compressed. And then if you want to see the data, just double click on it and you will see that all the 95 records you can see. Okay, so this got successfully transferred and the DTP, we have also activated it. So last thing is we'll quickly check in our BW system whether we can see the data or not. So we will right click and we'll say display reporting view data. And you can see, if you want to know that, is there a way we can, see the request IDs, go to the data preview in a fashion which was there previously. Previously, we used to do in SAP GUI. Now everything is going to cockpit. But is there a way I can still see the data? I can still see the request from a backend, same look and feel which I used to have. So the answer is yes, it is possible. And the way it is possible is if you open the session, there is a T code. I have also told you this T code before. That is also used to make the yellow request. If any yellow request is red, any yellow request is there because of which your load got stuck, that T code is used to make it red sometimes. So the T code you have to remember is RSPM monitor. You go to RSPM monitor and the data target, you provide the data target. So what is our data target? ZS underscore SDITM2. Okay, and then go to process monitor. So here, what you will see is, you will see all the DTP requests. There's a load request which has happened, so on and so forth. Now here, there is something called manage data target. This manage will not jump to cockpit. So if you still want the look and feel of the previous BW system, you will still have it. Of course, your request number has changed. So that will always be your transaction sequence number, which is this format. But you can see, and if you want to go to manage, then this will still stay in your Eclipse, in your SAP GUI, and it will show you the similar look and feel of the manage of ADSO. So here, if you see, this was the manage, you can see the data here. You can see the request ID here, load monitor if you want to jump to, activation request, how many records, if you want to see the details here. And from the menu, you can also go to active data, display active data, new data means inbound table, change log. You can do selective deletion if you want the selective deletion from here. You want to delete the entire content. So this is an alternate way if you are still, you don't want to jump to cockpit, and if you still want to do things from here, then RSPM underscore monitor is the transaction code and you can do things still from the backend. Okay, just I wanted to show you that it is still available.
What is the transaction code?
RSPM underscore monitor.
Okay, RSPM.
PM is for process monitor. RSPM underscore monitor. So it's still possible, but I would recommend you to get familiar with Cockpit, because more in the further releases of 2.0, this Cockpit will give you most of the options, not the backend one. But the backend one is still there for backward compatibility. Okay, and that is still used for, say for example, the yellow request is stuck. So in my previous project, we had to use that T code just to make it red, because from the Cockpit, I was not getting that option. But in the backend, I got that option. So sometimes in rare cases, you might have to revert back to the GUI based options, and that is in the process monitor, RSPM_monitor. Okay, so we'll take a quick break here. It's 9:50. Let's come back at 10 o'clock. And then we will now jump into the ADSOs, which is the main topic. And then we will discuss the ADSOs, and we will end the session today with ADSOs. Tomorrow, we will create the LSA++ flow, complete flow. And then we will delve deep into transformations, end routine, start routine, field routine, etc. Okay.
And do we have post-session questions?
Yeah, we will have the post-session Q&A also. Yes, we'll have that.
Okay.
Okay, let me pause the recording, and we'll come back in 10 minutes and share my screen again. Okay, so can you see my screen and my voice? Okay, can someone please confirm?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So now let's go into the topic of ADSOs, which is our actual BW now modeling stuff is starting. By the way, one more shortcut I just want to show you. If you want to just minimize this left side panel, you can double click on this tab. So it minimizes the left side panel, double click back, and the left side comes back. So if you need more space when we are doing transformations or coding, so sometimes we need more space, so you can just double click and it will minimize the left panel. All right, so now let's quickly go to, okay, this one I definitely have to activate it. So always keep the data flows activated and up to date so that you can work with them next time when you come back. Okay, so now we'll talk about ADSOs. To talk about ADSOs, let's first quickly go to some theory first, and then we will jump into the system if time permits. If not, then tomorrow we will jump into the system. So for the ADSOs, I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation. So if you go to material folder, there we have topic-wise material, and there we have something called ADSO. Okay, this is the advanced DSO nuts and bolts. So this is your PowerPoint presentation. So let's go through that. There are a lot of slides, so I'm not going to go all the slides, but main ones we should go. The remaining ones you have to go through yourself and then come back with questions if any. Okay. Okay. So let's see what is advanced DSO. Advanced DSO has replaced many info providers of the past. So this is the positioning of the advanced DSO. So we have info object that stays as it is. So info object is not obsolete, as we know. Info object is still very much alive and kicking. So that is one of the main persistent objects for master data. So for transaction data, it is advanced DSO. For master data, it is info object. For persistency, the bottom section is for persistency. The top section is for virtualization. So advanced DSO is under the persistent section, and it has replaced InfoQ of the past, classic DSOs, SPOs, semantically partitioned object, and data source. Now you know that how data source is replaced by the inbound table of the ADSO if it has two tables or more. Exception, data mart ADSO, which has two tables, but still you cannot use it as a PSA. But other than that, if the ADSO has two tables, you will be able to edit the data similar to what PSA used to give us. So that is the positioning of advanced DSO in BW for HANA. This is not a new concept in BW for HANA. Advanced DSOs were introduced in 7.4 onwards, but it is now fully matured and can replace your inventory info cube, can do your planning. Everything is now possible on the ADSOs. So some salient points. ADSO is a central object for persistency storage, combines the features of DSO and cube. It can use info objects or fields or both. You can have hybrid as well. Created and maintained in Eclipse. You cannot create an ADSO from the backend SAP GUI anymore. Eclipse is the interface you have to use. Field-based ADSOs are usually used in the staging or corporate memory layer for faster loading. This is similar to your write optimized DSO of the past. The various ADSOs use cases are specified by the settings. Settings are the most important part of ADSO because those settings will define whether your ADSO will behave as a DSO override or a cube. And then we have special settings for inventory, for planning, and for direct update, direct write also. Have settings to handle inventory, planning, and write interface. So this is the structure of the ADSO. We have three main tables. We have in the inbound table, which will end in the 1, the active data table ending in 2, and then the change log table ending in 3. So these are the three main tables. So the tables might not be populated every time, but these three tables will definitely be generated for every ADSO. Okay, but depending on the setting, whether it's inbound table only or compressed data only or standard DSO with change log, based on those settings, either the table will be populated or not populated. So the data initially is always loaded to the inbound table. That is the first table in any ADSO. The first table is inbound table, and then the data is either read from the inbound table directly or it is activated first and then read from the table of active data. So this depends on how the data is used. The change log contains the change history for the delta updates. That means the images, reverse image, after image, before image, so on and so forth. And then we have the different targets where the change log sends the delta records. In addition to these three core tables, we have the three SQL views. These are called SQL views. They are not calculation views. These are DB SQL views, and they will end in 6, 7, and 8. 6 is basically for your extraction, and 7 is for reporting, and 8 it is for your lookups. So if you have lookups, you want to read the data from the ADSO, you should no longer go to active data table. You should no longer go to the table number 7. You should always use table number 8. If you don't have the view number 8. If you don't have the view 8, then you can go for 7 or sometimes active data table also. But if you are on HANA 2.0, then you should always use your table number 8 because that is optimized from the backend standpoint. The APIs and all those things for the read APIs I'm talking about are all enhanced and optimized for view number 8. Okay. The view for external access, which is number 8, is used for lookups in transformations or AMDP, which is new in BW for HANA 2.0. The view for external access does not provide analysis authorization features. Okay, that is not there. So this view is a simple SQL view, which will not give you analysis authorization features, but it's just for the lookups. If you want analysis authorization and all, then you should use the generated calculation view, because from every ADSO, you can generate a calculation view. If you go to the ADSO property, when you are creating the ADSO, there is a checkbox which says external SAP HANA view. That means it generates a HANA calculation view. And this HANA calculation view will always be classic calculation view. It will not generate 2.0 HDI CVs. Even if your Access Advanced is activated, even if you are on HANA 2.0, this generation will always create classic CVs. That means Access Classic, and SAP has no plan to generate 2.0 HDI CVs because the features of HDI CVs are not applicable for BW use cases. Okay, so that if you need analysis authorization kind of a feature, then the generation of the CV is the recommended way. Your SQL view, which is table number 8, is not going to give you that, because when you generate, the analytical privileges are also created. If you have analysis authorizations defined on this ADSO, then the corresponding AP analytical privilege in the native HANA side will also get generated. For ADSOs that were activated prior to the introduction of this SQL view number 8, if you are, say, for example, in BW for HANA 1.0, then what you have to do is you have to use this program RSDG ADSO activate, and this generates the SQL view number 8. So there is a workaround for HANA, for BW for HANA 1.0, and the workaround is via this particular program, you have to activate your ADSO. Now,
Devanshu, in one quick question, in what cases the 6 and 7 is used, like example?
see, 6.7 is used in the backend. When your report hits the ADSO, it will not go to your active table directly or your change log directly or your inbound table. It's going to go to your reporting view 7, which will combine the data from active table and inbound table. If the inbound table has some request inactivated, then the report will use that. Similarly, when you extract the data out of the ADSO to another target, in the back end, the DTP is not using your active data table or your change log table. It is actually in the back end, it's using the extraction view, which is your view number A6. So these you will directly not use it, but in the back end, the report side and the extraction will use these particular SQL views. So now we'll discuss the type of ADSOs, very important. First is data mart, which replaces the cube. Then we have standard ADSO, which is similar to our classic DSO of the past. We have staging ADSO. Staging ADSO is nothing but your write optimized ADSO, which replaces write optimized ADSO. And then we have the direct update ADSO, which is similar to the direct update ADSO of the past. Let's look at them one by one. But mapping to previous types, you should know. So write optimized DSO is now staging ADSO. Standard ADSO is standard ADSO, no change there. There's one change though. Previously in the standard ADSO, change log was mandatory. But now in BW for HANA 2.0, in the standard ADSO, change log is optional. By default, it will be checked as to be activated and used. But you have an option to uncheck that and say that, no, I don't want change log. I only want my inbound table and active data table. So basically what you are saying is you cannot send delta out of that ADSO. So if you don't have any further targets connected as delta, then you can use a standard ADSO with no change log. So that is the change in the standard ADSO. Then info queue of the past has been replaced by data mart ADSO. Direct update ADSO, same direct update ADSO. Inventory info cube has been replaced by inventory ADSO. That means there is a property which says inventory, and if you check that, that is applicable for either data mart ADSO or your standard ADSO, and the inventory can be handled easily there in the ADSOs. Semantically partitioned objects, which was a group of the cubes or ADSOs. Now it is replaced by something called a semantic group, and this semantic group will comprise of ADSOs only. So this is the grouping concept is still there. If you want to just generate similar ADSOs, you can easily do it with the semantic group. BW for HANA 1.0 versus BW for HANA 2.0 modeling properties. This one. This has also changed slightly from 1.0 to 2.0. People who are still working on 1.0 will be familiar with this kind of modeling properties, and with 2.0 this has been made less confusing, because for me it was really confusing in 1.0. In 2.0 it is much more easy to understand and also optimized, in the sense reduced. Not so many options are there. So previously I have done the color coding, by the way, to tell you that which property merged or got converted to which property. Okay, so if you see here, we had templates previously, modeling templates in BW for HANA 1.0. We had data acquisition layer including corporate memory. We had the corporate memory with compression, corporate memory with reporting. All this is basically your staging ADSO. All these modeling templates, data acquisition layer including corporate memory with compression, and corporate memory with reporting is basically nothing but your inbound queue only, first one, compression, second one, and reporting enabled, the third one. So it has basically been transformed into staging ADSOs of these three types. Then we had data warehouse layer model template with delta calculation. Again, very confusing terminology if you ask me. Now it has been simplified as your standard ADSO. Standard ADSO with change log. Delta calculation means with change log, because delta is sent via the change log. Data warehouse layer, data mart is your data mart ADSO, basically, right? Then we had special types. Direct update ADSO was under special types, but now direct update ADSO is another regular type of DSO in the modeling properties, not a special type anymore. And then we had planning mode inventory, which is now going to special properties, inventory enabled, planning enabled. Write interface enabled was not there previously. Now it has been introduced in BW for HANA 2.0. That means your bots, BODS, or your cloud platform integration, SAP CPI can directly write into the ADSOs. So that property was not there, and now it is there in 2.0. Then activation was there, which says activate data, write change log. This is one, write change log. Keep inbound data, extract from inbound table. That means the compressed data, which is keeping the inbound table. And then we had unique data records, and snapshot support is now moved under standard ADSO. So if you see the standard ADSO, we have the unique data record and snapshot support. So I'll discuss what are these, don't worry, it's coming up. But these are the modeling templates from 1.0, which are made seamless and easy to understand and much more, I would say, simplified in 2.0. So LSA++, we know already, but just reiterating the point, we have 3 layers in LSA++, we all know, which is staging layer, integrated data warehousing layer, and your virtual data mart layer. So where does the DSOs fall under? The DSOs will fall under the first layer and the second layer. First layer will mostly be staging ADSOs, but technically you can also keep your standard ADSOs here. There is no stopping you. But recommendation from the LSA++ architecture is keep the staging ADSO of type inbound queue only. You don't need activation there. So the loading will be faster, no activation required. And if it is field based, then the unnecessary info object tables will also be not populated. So keep it field based staging ADSOs, which will serve as a corporate memory also. And then in the second layer, you have either the standard ADSO you can keep, or you can also keep data mart ADSO. If you have a inventory requirement, then of course you will go for data mart ADSO, but otherwise a standard ADSO will suffice. So in the first layer and the second layer of LSA++, your ADSOs will be there. This is one of the most important slides. If you keep this in mind, then you will answer all the modeling properties related interview questions. Okay, a lot of interview questions are asked on this. So you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, first is standard ADSO, second is staging ADSO, third is data mart ADSO, fourth is direct update ADSO. And the special properties are also marked as numbers. That means inventory is possible only with standard ADSO and data mart ADSO, not staging, not direct update. Planning is possible with standard, staging not possible, data mart yes, direct update yes. So 1, 3, 4, standard, data mart, and direct update. All of them are possible with planning. Then you have write interface enabled, which is possible with staging and standard, both. So this is a very important slide. You have to keep this in mind, which property will is applicable or enabled for which ADSOs. Another important thing is change log is mandatory if you want inventory and planning happening on the standard ADSO. I repeat, if you are using standard ADSO for inventory or for planning, change log is mandatory. The moment you remove change log, you can no longer do inventory or planning on the standard ADSO. So remember that. So what is the difference between data mart versus standard ADSO? Why we have these two types? Of course, the purpose is, one is of course InfoCube, the other is ADSO, but another purpose is it can also have aggregated versus detailed data. So if you see here in the operational delta Q, ODQ, we have invoice number, day level, customer revenues. And then in the standard ADSO, you can have invoice level, day level, customer revenue, but in the data mart, you can aggregate that and you can remove the day. You can say month wise, give me the customer revenues. So data mart ADSOs are more more aggregated, and standard ADSOs are more granular. And this is the first purpose. Second purpose is InfoCube. If you want, you have to go with data mart. But if regular override functionality you want, you can go for standard ADSO. Now we will delve deep into each individual type of ADSO. So we'll start with data mart ADSO. So what is the purpose and structure? Purpose and structure of data mart ADSO is that it is used for reporting and analysis. Okay. Behavior is equal to cube. So it will have a cube-like behavior, meaning your key figures will be summation key figure. It is not move. Move is equal to override. In BW for HANA, there is no more the word override. It is called move. So behavior will be summation, not move. And the core tables will remain the two core tables. One is uncompressed fact table, F table of the past. This is your inbound table. So inbound table has taken the role of F table. And then we have E table, which is the which table? Active data table. So there is no change log here. Please remember that change log is only used in standard ADSO. Change log is not used in staging ADSO. Change log is not used in data mart ADSO. Change log is not used in direct update ADSO. Change log is only relevant and applicable for standard ADSO, and that too it is optional. It is not mandatory anymore. But recommendation is, if you are choosing standard ADSO, always keep change log as your option. Why? Because in future you might have to connect another target, and if it is delta based target, then your change log will send the deltas. Okay, so change log is not used for data mart ADSOs. Remember, F table is inbound and E table is active data table. This ADSO can contain info objects and fields. It allows you to load data into the BW without assigning info objects. If you want just field based, you can keep this as field based completely, no problem. In this ADSO, info objects that are only display attributes are not allowed. Okay, because it's a cube. So if you have the property display attribute only for the info object, those info objects are not allowed in this ADSO. No fields with the following data types are allowed: string, raw, df16 raw, and df34 raw. So all these string and raw data types are not allowed for the fields if you are using the data mart ADSO. Data load and activation. Yes, this is important. Initially, data is loaded in the inbound table, and when you activate the data, it is copied to the active data table, grouped according to the aggregation behavior, similar to cube compression. So remember what happens in the cube compression. The data gets aggregated, the request ID becomes 0. So there is no request ID anymore. And then the key is all the fields are the composite key. So that's the behavior of the info cube. Same behavior will be there in the active data table of this ADSO. So when you activate the data, so in the inbound table, request IDs will be there, similar to your F table. But when you activate it, request ID is gone and your data gets aggregated based on the behavior, the key fields. The key field, what is the key fields? List of all the fields together is your key field. Afterward, the data is deleted from the inbound table. So that means same thing. When you compress, data gets deleted from the F table. Similarly, data will get deleted from the inbound table here. Change log is not filled but created. Please remember, all the three tables will always be created for any ADSO, but it will not be filled based on what type of ADSO it is. No additional keys can be specified for this ADSO, but the records are treated as if all characteristics are the key. This is the same concept as your info cube. Additive deltas can be loaded only. You cannot load override deltas. So that means for key figures, only the aggregation maximum, minimum, and summation are allowed. Therefore, key figures cannot be overwritten. Info cube behavior. When you create this ADSO, you can assign characteristics and key figures to the groups. Remember grouping? So in the ADSO, we have something called groups. These are the groups, and you can name the groups, you can create the groups, but please remember they will not impact performance anymore. Previously in BW, based on which info object you put in which particular group or folder, performance used to get impacted, but no longer is the case. These groups are purely used for a better organization only. That's all. Okay. For the query designer. So when you create a query in Eclipse, these groups will help you with the organization, saying that this is time, this is units and currencies, this is your key figures, this is your other characteristics, so on and so forth. That's all. That's the purpose. For this ADSO, request can only be deleted if the request has not yet been activated. Request-wise deletion is only possible when you haven't activated the data. Okay. Now, one question I'll throw at you. Is activation mandatory? Can reporting happen on this ADSO if we don't activate the data?
Yes.
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 No.
Okay. So Shikha, you said yes. Can you tell me why yes?
Because activation for data mart DSO is like compression, so it is not really needed. You can report without activation / compression.
So that means report will, are you saying report will take data from both the tables, inbound table and active table?
Yes. So when activation happens, the data moves to active table, right?
Yes.
If activation has not happened, reporting will happen from the inbound.
From the inbound only?
No, it will happen from both.
Right. It will happen from both. Okay.
Data, wherever it's available, it will pick.
It will pick. A gentleman who said, no, reporting is not possible. May I know the name? And can you tell me the reason, please?
This is Vijay.
Yes, Vijay.
I don't know whether I understood your question correctly.
The question is, without activation of data, can reporting still happen on the data mart ADSO?
Yes.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. So what happens when the activation happens? When the activation happens, there are two things which takes place. First, your active data table will be populated, and the second is your table 1 will be emptied, which is your inbound table. Okay, so request IDs will no longer be there. So request IDs will get zeroed out, or it will be removed, and your data will get aggregated. So we have customer and material. Customer 1000A, 1000A, 300, 150 is 450, and 1200B, 400 and 250 is 650. So the data will get aggregated in the active data table, the similar concept of cube. Okay, the same thing I've shown again here. So compression, it is nothing but your compression. Okay, so compression will happen, and compression means your activation. There is no button called compress. This is just activate the data. So activation will behave as if the compression is happening, which will go to the active data table. Nothing will go to change log. Okay, that's why it's white. White means change log will not be populated. Reporting will happen on table 1 and or table 2. Why it is saying and or and not and? Why there is an or?
Because
we can choose the option of compressing the request or not.
No. That is there in the inbound staging ADSO. I'm talking about data mart ADSO. In data mart ADSO, it is saying reporting will happen either on table 1 and 2, or just 1 or just 2. Why it's saying that?
If we did not activate the table, it will take it from the inbound table, right?
Exactly. If you have not activated any request, say for example, then the reporting has nothing here. It will go to inbound table and it will take the data. If you have activated half of the request and half is pending here, then it will take both. And if you have activated everything, it will take from here, nothing is here in by inbound.
But it is taking from the reporting view. That's what we discussed right earlier.
That's right.
But now you are saying now the table.
I mean, okay. So in the backend, it is definitely the reporting view, but the reporting view is in turn taking data from these tables only. So that's why from the explanation point of view, you have to understand that eventually data is coming from those tables, but it is consolidated by the reporting view. Extraction and reporting.
One small doubt. Sorry for interrupting. I mean, I'm not able to stop myself. When I have HANA, why should I do aggregation or compression?
Okay, that's a good question. If you have HANA, he's saying that why should I activate the data at all? I can just keep in inbound table and I can keep reporting. So what is the disadvantage there? Can someone tell me the disadvantage?
Reporting performance and space.
Space. More than performance, it is space.
Every
In
time
HANA, the memory is the most important factor. If you keep the memory occupied more and more and more, then your RAM, main memory size, will quickly increase, and then you have to add the memory, and it is very expensive. We all know how expensive HANA memory is. When you activate the data, what's happening? Space is getting compressed, meaning if initially the inbound table was taking 50 gigabytes, 50 GB, now after the activation, which is nothing but compression, it will take maybe 5 GB only. So performance wise, I'm not worried. Performance HANA, because it's HANA, it is fine. Space wise, I'm definitely worried. I have to keep my HANA memory optimized. That's why it is better to activate the data, number one. Second reason, if you have inventory, for inventory to work properly, you need activation, because only when you activate, the record modes gets changed for the delta movements, and the markers, the reference points, markers are known as reference points in BW for HANA, they get updated. If you don't activate, your markers or reference points will not get updated. So these are the two main reasons why you should still activate or compress.
In this ADSO, if we do not activate, it is pretty much similar to standard ADSO, right?
No, it is not similar to standard ADSO, because, if you are saying you do not activate at all.
Yes. Yes.
If you do not activate at all, then the records will not get overwritten. Records will be summed up in the reporting. If you do a reporting, records have to be summed up, because in the inbound table it is request by request, the data. So where will the summation happen? In the report side, the summation will happen, and it will not be overwrite, which will be different than the standard ADSO. Okay, so extraction and reporting. So what is the difference? The extraction full and initial delta extraction reads the data for the update into a further data target from union of inbound and active. Always remember that. If this data mart ADSO is sending data to a further target, the extraction, which is full, if it is full load or if it is initialization load, will take the data of union of inbound and active data table. For delta, it will always read from the inbound table. If the further target is connected, then delta is always read from the inbound table, because why? Why delta is not taking active plus inbound? Why only inbound?
If we take the both tables, there might be duplicates, right?
Request ID is
No.
lost in the active data.
Exactly. Request ID is lost when you activate, and delta to a further target is always based on what? Request ID. That's why in our scenario, in the header, it stopped us from doing the activation. Why? Because we had not sent that to the further target. So always remember, delta will always need request IDs. So delta will require inbound table. So inbound table is the one which will be there. That means if you have a further target attached to a data mart ADSO, you cannot activate unless you send that request to the further target, because inbound table has a request ID. That's the reason. Okay. If a delta extraction is connected and is active, a request can only be activated once you have sent it to the further target. This ADSO can be used as a source or as a target for the transformation. Now, when it comes to reporting, reporting reads the data from inbound and active together using a union. So it's a union of inbound table and active data table. The query reads data from inbound table and from the table of active data. Therefore, it is not necessary to activate the data to be able to see the data in the report. So it is not mandatory for you to activate for the reporting side, but from a saving of space and for the inventory, scenario, it is usually recommended to activate. The data read is consistent since data is only included up to the first inconsistent request. So if you have a read request and your report will not read the read request, it will only read data up to the last successful request. The data is also stable. That means if you slice and dice, right? And during your slice and dice, if a new request has come in, then your slice and dice will not get the new request data unless you refresh your report. So that's why it is said that the data read is stable data read in Datamart ADSO. So a user will not get surprised that, oh, I didn't refresh, I just sliced with a different, how come the data is changed? So that does not happen for a Datamart ADSO. The read is stable read. So this is the picture you keep in mind. If you keep this picture, then everything will be fine. Reporting happens on active plus inbound. Okay. Then the ADSO, if it has a further target, your full and initial load will take data from active table, okay, and inbound table, and the change log is, okay, change log is not there, sorry. For the full load, it will take data, and the initial load, it will take data from the active data table and inbound table into the target. Okay, so remember that. Because changelog is not used, so definitely you cannot read the deltas. That's why when there is an inbound table, you cannot activate that unless you send the data to target for the delta. Okay, so full, initial, and delta, okay, will read. So delta will read your inbound table, and full initial will read your active plus your inbound table. Okay, just remember that. Any questions on the Datamart ADSO before we go to the standard ADSO? So today we are covering two ADSOs, the standard and the Datamart. Tomorrow we'll cover the remaining two ADSOs.
So the DIM IDs are totally gone, right?
Yeah. DIM IDs were gone on HANA itself.
Oh.
In the BW on HANA, DIM IDs were gone, dimension tables were gone, except for the package dimension. For package dimension, you still had the DIM IDs because we had to, delete the request by request deletion and selective, not selective, the request by request deletion was enabled via the package dimension. But other than package dimension, all other dimensions were gone. So there is no DIM ID concept here.
So Devanshu, in normal cube, we were able to create 13 plus, 3 were standard and delivered with info cube, and 13 extra dimensions we were able to create. But is there any concept like we can create that many number of groups down here, or we can create how many groups we want?
No, you can create as many groups as you want. No restriction there.
And
again, all those dimensions were connected to performance. Because if you give wrong info objects or unconnected info objects, connected info objects in different dimension, it resulted in Cartesian products, M:2N, and that screwed up the performance. Here, nothing like that. It is purely up to you how many groups you want to create. It will not impact your performance. Only from an organization standpoint, it will be better for your query. That's all.
Devanshu, why is full and initial going from both active as well as inbound?
Say, for example, you have activated half of the request, right? And half of the requests are there in active data, half of the requests in inbound table. So then, how will you get the complete data for full? See here, the full and initial reads the data for update into a further diagram from a union of inbound. Because see, when you want full, you're not saying that only give me the compressed request. No, you want everything. You want the data from the inbound table also. You want the data from the full also. Sorry, the active table also. So that's why it's a union of your inbound table and your active data table. But deltas definitely from the inbound table.
So whenever I do a full, the system automatically takes care of all this.
That's right. And that's why the views are there. Extraction view, reporting view, 6, 7. In the backend, they will already take care of combining them, unioning them. You don't have to worry about it. You just run the DTP, full DTP or the initialization DTP. It takes care of that using the extraction views in the backend.
Thank you. Got it.
Okay, so let's start the standard ADSO, then we'll stop.
Devanshu, last question.
Yes,
on data mart ADSO.
Yeah.
So if we consider LSA++,
yes,
we no more need info cubes. We can directly report on ADSOs.
Yes, absolutely.
And going to the previous versions, I mean, not BW4.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to convert an info cube to ADSO,
yeah,
ADSO of type info cube, or if I want
data
to remove
mart.
it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, data mart ADSO. So I see there is a lot of impact here. So we need to keep it, or we don't. I mean, the same thing repeats again. Why should I keep it? Why shouldn't I keep it? I mean, I should. SAP says don't keep it, and we do have that info cube functionality here.
Yeah, so it depends. See, if you have the key figure behavior as summation, right? And if you have multiple targets feeding to one info cube in your previous ADSO, right? Multiple DSOs are feeding to your info cubes and all are summation. Then you cannot replace that with a standard ADSO. You have to do a data mart ADSO, which will replace your info cube and your below DSOs, which were the source for the info cube. That you can have a decision whether you want to keep standard ADSO or you want to keep staging ADSO and so on. But situations, I'll tell you what situations will mandate for you to keep the data mart ADSO. One is inventory. So if you have inventory info cube, you need data mart ADSOs, or you can have standard also. But data mart is, I would prefer data mart ADSOs than standard ADSOs for the inventory. Then,
sorry.
Yeah, then the second scenario is multiple sources feeding with the summation behavior. Again, data mart ADSO is required. Yes, Suresh, go ahead.
I was just wondering, like for any ABR characteristic data source, I think it is good to use a data mart ADSO before reverse. I mean, whichever data source has this behavior, delta behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I think for that, a data mart is a better option.
I would say ABR can support both data mart and standard. Because in ABR, if you have override, your after image will be your override, and if you have cube, it will get added. So that I would not say that is a deciding factor for keeping the ADSO or not. You can replace the data mart with standard ADSO if it is ABR, no problem. But I would say the more compelling scenarios are your inventory scenarios and your multiple sources feeding to one cube with summation. Then you should definitely think about keeping your data mart ADSOs. Okay. All right. So now let's go to standard ADSOs. Purpose and structure. So standard ADSO is used to store and consolidate and cleanse data. Okay. Primary purpose can also be reporting, right? In LSA++, now it is the top layer, and then we have the virtual data mart layer, which is composite provider. So standard ADSO also can be used for reporting and also to store cleansed and consolidated data on a document level, on a more granular level. As we discussed, data marts, data ADSOs are more aggregated and standard ADSOs are more granular. But in HANA, because of the power of HANA, you can keep the granular data in the standard ADSO and you can keep it as a top layer. No need to create data mart ADSOs unless there are certain scenarios like inventory or multiple targets, multiple sources, then you can think about it. Otherwise, no need. So there are three core tables: inbound table, active data table. Change log is optional. This is the big change from the previous BW versions. Here, the change log will keep as optional, but I would say always keep it. You never know when you have to send the data to further targets. This ADSO can contain info objects and fields or both. Hybrid also is possible. This allows you to load data without assigning the info objects. Data load and activation, how it happens, the data is initially, again, this is common. Data is always loaded to inbound table. So here also data is initially loaded to inbound table. And when you activate, the data goes to the active data table and it is removed from the inbound table. Okay. And then if you have a change log also selected, then change log will also get populated. The difference of the activation is written to the changelog. Changelog supplies delta to further targets. Extraction. Extraction data for the update to a further data target is extracted from the table of active data for initial and full, and changelog is used for delta. So that means if you don't have changelog for standard ADSO, you cannot send delta. You can only send initial or full load. That's all. Reporting. When a query is executed, the table of active table is always accessed. Therefore, only the data that is activated is visible to the report. So if you have data in inbound table, which is not yet activated, report will not see that data. It is not a union of inbound and active. The report always hits only the active table in standard ADSO. For standard ADSO, there is no stable navigation of reporting. That means if the user is doing slice and dice and suddenly a new request came in the backend, and the next slice and dice will immediately get that new request. So there is no stable navigation for standard ADSO, but for data mart ADSO, there is stable navigation. So this is the picture. So when you load, it goes to the inbound table. Then in this case, we have changelog. So this is a scenario, standard ADSO with changelog. Okay, similar to the standard ADSO of the old version. So when you activate, data goes in active table, it goes to changelog. Full and initialization goes from active table, delta goes from changelog. Report always happens on the active data table. Okay. Now, second scenario is without changelog. So if you have standard ADSO without changelog, how it's going to behave? So this is a new option. Not having changelog saves resources. That means it will save space, but it will prohibit you to send any delta to the further target. So if you have a further target, you can always do only full or initial, not delta. Report again always hits the active data table. So this is a scenario. So you have request ID 1, P1, record 1, 4711 and 10. You have request ID 2, P1, record 1, 4711 and 30. Okay. So now when it goes to active data table first request, it goes and sits as 471110, and in the changelog it will go and sit as 10 first record. When you activate the second request, it will override this 10 and sit as 30, and here in the changelog there will be minus 10 and plus 30. Automatically changelog will do that, and accordingly the delta can be sent either to a ADSO or a data mart, which is InfoQ, via changelog if you have changelog. Okay. Key figures, for example, sales amount or number of documents can be set to override, add or no update. So that means your key figure, now you have an option. By default, it will be move. Move is the new name of override, by the way. So by default, it will have move, but you have an option of changing it to summation in the standard ADSO. So this is the picture of standard ADSO.
Our voicemail. You have no messages in your mailbox.
Sorry guys, can you please be on mute? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so here it goes. So if you have the inbound table, first is the inbound table, then when you activate, it goes to active data table and changelog. The delta is from changelog, the full and initial is from your active data table, and reporting is from your active data table. Special properties. If you see, our standard ADSO has some special properties. So the standard ADSO was this header, I think. This is the, no, not this, I think. This is the one. The item one was the standard. Oh, this is also standard. Okay. So it has some special properties which relates to the standard ADSO. Okay. What are those special properties? Write changelog first. What does this mean? The delta, which is new or change record, is saved in the changelog. The changelog is used to extract the delta to further targets. So if it has changelog, there are two advantages. First, you can send delta to further targets, and second, you can have request by request deletion is also possible if you have changelog. Without changelog, snapshot support, this one, if I remove the changelog, snapshot support goes away, inventory goes away, planning goes away. So changelog is mandatory for snapshot support, it's mandatory for inventory and for planning. So without changelog, snapshot support and inventory planning not supported, only unique data record and write enabled are supported without the changelog. What is snapshot support? if you have a data source which can only supply full load, it is not possible or it is not capable of supplying delta. For example, flat file loads are always full loads, or some of the master data sources are always full load. So if you have a full load, then if you have a data deleted, say for example, today the full load has 10 records. So it got successfully activated and it is sitting in the active data table and change log. Tomorrow it is 9 records, 1 record is deleted, right? Since it is a full load, there is no way that BW can identify that this record is deleted, so I have to remove it from the active data table also. So in those scenarios, SAP has given this option of snapshot support. That means now even if the data source is only full, the BW system will compare the data between the active table and the inbound table, and if it finds a record missing, okay, and how it will identify with the key fields. So with the key fields, if it finds the record missing, then it will remove it from the active data table, and it will also put a reverse image in the change log. So that is the beauty of snapshot support. Even with the full load, you can easily identify the deletions. So that's what it mentions here. And then unique data records, if you only load unique data records, that means with non-recurring key field combination into the DSO, you can select this property. If you have a duplicate which comes in, then immediately a load will fail, saying that, sorry, there's a duplication, and because you have this property checked unique data records, I cannot load this in my ADSO. So you can have that property. So this is snapshot support, guys. Okay, see what's happening. So what we have is material 111 and 222. We had with 100 and 150. So we have, when you activate it for the first time, then it will go and sit in the active table as 111, 222, and we will have quantity 200, 250. And then in the change log, you will have 100 and 150. Change log. Oh, sorry, my bad. So what happens is first 100 and 150 was there. So in the change log also 100 and 150 came and sat. Now you are changing the data. Okay, you're not deleting anything. You're just changing the data. 200, 111 became 200 and 222 became 250. So what will happen is your change log will have the minus and plus before image and after image. So there will be a before image for 100 with a minus, and then you will have 200 as your after image. Similarly, for your 150, there will be a minus 150 and then 250 as your after image. So this is the change log. So this is a scenario where data is there for 111, 222, and you change that. Okay, no deletion, by the way. So far, no deletion. So this is how it will behave. In active table, it will be overwritten. 100 will become 200 and 150 will become 250. But in change log, there will be after and before images there. Okay, so far so good. Now, if you deleted 222, okay, and your data source is full load, and if you delete 222, what will happen is in the active table after deletion, if the snapshot support is not checked, remember, if the snapshot was not checked, your active table will still have 222. It will not remove it. But if you have the snapshot checked, then when you load the data, full load, your active table will remove 222 because it compared the incoming data, and in the incoming data there was no 222. So 222 will be deleted, only 111 will remain, and in the change log, there will be a reverse image, no after image, only reverse image with minus 250. So 222 will be completely gone. So this is the functionality of snapshot support in the standard ADSO. So what is the prerequisite? Data source should only support full load and there are deletions. So these two scenarios, if it is there, then your snapshot support can identify the deletions.
So then the drop and reload, then these two steps are not required, right?
Exactly. So in the full load, previously what we used to do, we used to drop and reload if there are deletions. Now it is no more required. So that brings us to the end of today's session. We are over time as usual, by the way. So we have discussed the data mart ADSO. We have discussed the standard ADSO. Any questions on the standard ADSO?
There's one question.
Yes.
Like we have that checkbox of external SAP, external HANA, right?
Yes, correct.
So if we do that, then we can bypass the composite provider and we can directly do further calculation views in HANA Studio, right?
Yes. When you say bypass composite provider, why are you saying bypass?
So basically, in order to make these ADSOs or anything, this thing available to native HANA, we have to create a composite provider, and that composite provider is actually available in native HANA, right?
No, composite provider is not available in native HANA unless you generate a CV out of the composite provider. Then it is available in native HANA. See, when you're talking about native HANA, no BW objects is available by default. You have to generate a CV out of either an ADSO or your composite provider, and then you have to use it in the native HANA. Now, what is the difference between generating HANA CV out of an ADSO and composite provider? ADSO will only give the ADSO data and the fields from the ADSO. But if composite provider, you have 5 sources. There are 2 ADSOs, one open ODS view and another calculation view, and you want everything. Then you generate a CV out of a composite provider, not an ADSO. So based on the requirement, you can do that. But it's not that the composite provider is immediately available in native HANA. That's not true.
But Devanshu, that join we can do in native HANA also, right? We can expose 5 ADSOs in native HANA and join down there.
Absolutely. You can do that. No problem. But will you have attribute hierarchies available in native HANA out of an info object? You will not have that. So if you have functionalities of attributes, text, hierarchies, then you better stick to your BW objects rather than going to your native HANA.
Okay.
But if you want to expose the BW data to a third-party external reporting tool, say for example, you are getting data from Teradata, example, that is a third separate data set, not your enterprise data. That means not your S4 related data. That's some other data, the legacy database they have. Now they want to combine that data with your BW data. And then your Tableau is sitting on top of that. Separate reporting is happening.
Right.
And people are saying, oh, I want that S4 data to be exposed. I don't want to go to S4. In BW, you already have it. Please give it to my Teradata team. They will combine that and give me in my Cognos. This is a separate reporting happening from your enterprise reporting. Enterprise reporting is completely based on S4 data. In those cases, you will generate CVs for them. They will create models, combine it with Teradata CVs, which they have created on the external schema. And then Tableau will report directly on top of the CVs. So for those scenarios, it is required.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question on standard ADSO?
Yes.
Yeah. Your name, please, and then go ahead.
Mandeep here.
Yes, Mandeep.
For native HANA modeling, can we use the active data table? I mean, what is the best approach for native HANA modeling on top of ADSO?
Okay, so if you are on HANA 2.0, BW for HANA 2.0, right? Then for native HANA modeling, use the SQL view, number 8. If you are in number 8, if you are on 1.0, use 7, view number 7.
Okay, and the difference between using a number 8 view, SQL view, compared to the generating HANA view?
Analysis authorizations.
Sorry?
Authorizations will not come into picture. In CVs, you will have the analytical privileges automatically created and the same authorization will apply. Analytic privileges will apply. SQL view will not give you the analysis authorization feature.
Okay. Yeah. So can I say this way? If we are reporting on a query, I mean the composite provider and query eventually, then we can use the number 8 CV in the HANA native HANA and do the modeling and then do the query thing. Is that be okay or correct scenario?
Depends on your requirement. There is no wrong or right scenario. It completely is driven from your requirements. So if your requirement says that whatever analysis authorizations are defined, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. same authorization should apply on my native side also. Then you should generate a CV and then expose it to your reporting tools, because then the same analytical privileges will be automatically generated and will be applied. But if you have no such requirements of authorization, you just want to use the data which is coming out of your ADSOs, then you can use your SQL view number 8 and then create your calculation view on top of that.
Yeah, and I mean, in the same context, if we are reporting on HANA view, let's say my reporting tool is I'm consuming HANA view, then I think the generating HANA view with the authorization be much better. And if I'm just reporting on query, BW query, because I'm still stuck to the BW system, then my privileges are still there. Then I can use the number 8 CV.
No, second part I didn't understand, sorry.
Okay. So if second part is when I'm reporting on BW query, so all my analytic privileges and everything is in the BW already.
Authorizations, authorization. Not analytic privileges, analysis authorizations. Yes, it's there in BW, correct.
Yeah, so I can use the number 8 CV because eventually it's gonna implement through the BW system.
Number 8 CV. So the SQL view number 8.
Yeah.
You are using where? You are talking about native HANA?
Yeah, I mean, I consume that number SQL view in native HANA and do the modeling there.
Yeah,
and
you
then
can do that. You can do that.
And build the composite provider on top of that and do the query there. And my authorization will anyway.
Anyways, will be there on the composite provider. You're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that. Yes. So from DSO, you take the SQL view number 8, create a HANA model, HANA CV, and then use that CV in your composite provider. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's possible.
And another question is here with the variables. I mean, in HANA, we have input parameters.
Yes.
And BW query, we have variables.
Yes.
So when we always saying we should push down or filter at the lowest level. So creating input parameters comparing to variables, I mean, which one is better in terms of performance and best practice?
Okay, so when you're talking about variables, are you talking about BW query variables or HANA CV variables?
BW query variables.
Okay, so BW query variables are mapped to input parameters. If you have input parameters, then when you create a variable, it will be mapped to the input parameter, which is already a push down in HANA. So the push down will automatically be achieved when you will map the variable with the input parameter.
Yeah, that's my question actually. I mean, I have an option to create variable. I mean, let's say variable 1 I can create at query, or I can create it at the HANA view. I mean, input parameter in the HANA view. So I think in creating an input parameter in HANA view will much better in terms of performance.
Yes, you're right. But that is only applicable for CV as the source of the composite provider on which you are creating the variable, right? But if you have a CV and you have 2 ADSOs and you have 1 OpenODS view, and then the CV will give you, only the CV part will give you the HANA pushdown. But for the remaining ones, you still have to go with the variables in the BW query.
Correct.
Yes, you're right.
Thanks.
Okay, no problem.
So Jitendra here, one question. Can the table 8 be used as our like open hub option when we say external access?
Open hub is never created on individual tables. Point number 1. When you create open hub, you will create on top of the ADSO. So you are not choosing that I want SQL view number 8 or 7 or 6. Backend, in backend, BW will identify that and will populate your open hub.
So in the table accordingly.
Okay. Exactly. You will choose the SQL view when you are doing either a lookup in the transformation, which is a code you are writing, or you do a native HANA modeling, then you have the liberty to choose. OpenOD is, the Open Hub, you don't have any liberty to choose. System will take care of that. You just create the transformation, run the DTP, and data will be populated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, so we will stop the main class session now. So let me stop the recording, and then we will go to the questions and answers, if any, and we'll try to answer them for the pre-Q&A session. So let me stop.